Hello everyone, welcome to Analytics with Asmi. Most important concept when you learn Excel is the difference between absolute and relative reference. This is also very famous frequently asked interview questions. Mostly people get confused with these two. So in this video, today I am going to show you with example what is the difference between absolute and relative referencing. First, let us understand what is relative referencing with example, then we will dive into the absolute and then the difference between both. So let's start. What is relative referencing? These cell references that adjust itself when the cell is copied. Here you can create a formula for one cell and copy paste it into all cells. Remember one thing, by default Excel uses relative referencing. Now let's see practically how we can do relative referencing. Now to explain the relative referencing, I just type down some numbers here. Suppose I am typing 10, 20 and 30. And I will type some numbers over here as well. 10, 2 and 3. Okay. Now here I want to have a total of this number. I want to add these two numbers. Okay. So for summing, what I can do, I will write here a formula like is equal to sum. Sum will add the two numbers. So I will use tab and I will select the range here G6 to H6 and close the bracket and hit enter. Now here you can see 10 plus 10 is equal to 20. Now I want to copy this formula down because I want to add this number as well, 20 plus 2 and 30 plus 3. So what I will do, I will drag this, I will copy this down. Now if you see this in the formula, here you have G6 to H6. In the next cell G7 to H7 and in the last cell you can see G8 to H8. So if I take a look on the last formula, you can see Excel has adjusted the cell references as I drag the formula down here. Right? Here we are adding these two numbers G6. Okay, this is G6 and this is H6. That's why we are getting here G6 to H6. We are summing these two numbers and we drag this formula down here. Now here you can see we came to the row number 7 and G with G column and H column. So it is G7 and H7, right? So the formula is copied down to the next cell and the last cell is, here you can see it is the 8th row. So here it's coming as G8 and H8 as we are adding this G and H column. Okay, hope you understood how we are dragging the formula down, how we are copying this down. So this is a relative referencing. So relative referencing is a default in Excel. This relative referencing allows me to copy my formula down and all my formula remains the correct. Now here you can see it is adding these two. So the formula is copying from this row number 6 to row number 8 and it's correct. But you can find it doesn't work in every situation. So it's not always appropriate to use. For that we use the absolute referencing. So let's see how we can do absolute referencing with example. Here we have a HR data where we have a 4 column, employee name, department, years, salary. Okay, and here we have to calculate the bonus. So bonus for each employee is given is 2%. Okay, so we have to calculate the bonus for each employee here. So for calculating the bonus for each employee, what formula we are going to use here? We are going to use is equal to sum tab. Here what we'll do? Salary, which is D2 into this is bonus. Okay, and we'll complete the bracket and hit enter. Now we got a bonus, right? Now we want to calculate a bonus for each employee. So for that what we will do, we will copy this formula down. Okay, so for this time I will double click this so that the formula will get copy here. I will double click this. Now here you can see we are getting all zeros here. Okay, why we are getting all zero? Let me check. Here you can see that we are getting sum of D51. D column is there and 51th row. So D51 is correct. Into J50, which is this, which is a blank. blank cell. Okay, instead of this J50 we want here J1. Okay, we want to multiply with this 2%. Okay, not with the blank. That's why we are getting here 0. So for in such cases we have to use the absolute references. Okay, Excel is assuming if I am dragging this formula down, it needs to modify the cell references. For salary part of the calculation, it's absolutely fine, but it's not fine for a bonus. Okay, so what we'll do, we will make it absolute. So let's undo this. Okay, now here I will delete this and we will write the formula again. So here I will write is equal to sum tab. Here again we will take the D2 into bonus. We will select this bonus J1, and here for making it absolute, what you have to do, you have to press F4. Okay, so it will create a absolute reference. I am pressing the F4 here. Now here you can see the dollar sign appears before the column J and before the row 1. So it represents that the formula is locked in this J1. Okay, it will not move down, it will not get copied, right? So now I will complete this bracket and I will hit enter. Now if we drag this formula down, I will double click this. Now here you can see we are getting the correct bonus for each employee. And if we select the last cell again, D51, here you can see sum D51 into J1, which is absolute now because the dollar sign is appearing before the column and row. Now it has become absolute, it is locked here. Okay, it is not copying down from J1 to J50 because we want a 2% salary. Okay, if it is written 2% over all the columns till J51, then it's fine to copy the formula down with the relative reference. But for the absolute reference, if your number or value is in particular row or a column, then you have to make your value as a absolute here. So what we did, we just write the sum, then D2, and we make this J1 as an absolute because we don't want to move this cell down, right? So this is how we have to do the absolute referencing. Now let's calculate a new salary here by adding the salary and the bonus. So for getting a new salary, what formula we can use is equal to sum, tap to select, and here we have to add this salary and bonus. So we will select this cell range, which is D2 to E2, bracket complete, and hit enter. Now we got a new salary by adding these two. Now you can see here for every row we have a different bonus. So we can copy here the formula down. So this time which cell reference we are going to use? Yes, absolutely right. We have to use here the relative reference because for every cell the number is getting changed, the value is getting changed. For absolute reference it is the same for every cell, right? So that's why we use here the absolute reference. And now here, as we can see, for every row we have a different value. Here we can copy the formula down. So here we are using the relative reference. So for copying down, what we can do, we will just double click this, and now here we got the new salary for each employee. So this is the way we can use the relative reference and the absolute reference. So let's see what is the formula, what is the definition of absolute reference now. Now you will understand the absolute referencing correctly. When you create a formula with the absolute reference, Excel keeps the reference constant. It makes it constant regardless of where you copy or fill the formula. So we freeze it or locked it by the dollar sign. So we have to press the F4 to lock or freeze the formula. Okay, we have already seen in the practical example. Dollar sign stops the row and the column number from changing when copied to other cell. So when we lock the formula, It stops the row and column number from changing when copied to other cells. So it will not copy the formula down. This could be the case when you have a fixed value that you need to use in the formula. So when we can use it such as tax rate, commission rate, number of months, or as we have seen in the example, bonus calculation. For such cases we can use this absolute referencing. Now let's see the difference between these two if asked in the interview. So you should mention these 4 points. First point is relative cell reference is a default setting in Excel, whereas absolute cell reference frees the cell reference. Second point is relative cell reference copy the formula down, whereas absolute cell reference use F4 to lock the cell, then copy the formula. Third difference is we can't use the dollar sign in relative reference, whereas in absolute reference we use the dollar sign. And finally you can give the example like A1 into B1. Here we are multiplying these two cells and then we can copy the formula down, right? And in absolute reference you use the F4 key to lock the column and the row. Here we have a mixed cell reference as well. So for in mixed cell reference what happens, either column or a row is getting freeze. So here you can see the column A is getting freeze. It allows the row reference to change but not the column reference. Here in the second example you can see here the row is freeze. It allows the column reference to change but not the row reference. So this is a mixed type of cell reference. And final is where row and column both are freeze. It allows neither the column nor the row reference to change. So it is called as an absolute reference. So these are the difference between relative cell reference and the absolute cell reference you must know. Hope you understood what is the difference between relative cell reference and the absolute cell reference. See you in the next video. Thank you for watching.